Welcome all. Bhante, it's so good to have you with us. Welcome everyone to another Clear Mountain interview. Today we're lucky enough to have Bhante Gunaratana, Bhante Ji, with us. And this is such a special opportunity. Bhante, this is the first time I've gotten to speak with you. And I'm so grateful. So thank you for taking the time.
Yeah.
Um, Bhante Henepola Gunaratana Mahatera, an internationally recognized author and meditation teacher, is the founding abbot of the Bhavana Society Buddhist monastery in West Virginia. Born in rural Sri Lanka in 1927, he embraced monastic life at the age of 12 and has now spent 82 or maybe 83 Bhante years.
Now my age,
No, how many years have you been in robes since being a novice?
maybe 83
83 years as
in
a
row.
monastic,
Yeah,
making him a remarkable. Are you 94 now, Bante?
95.
95 years
Yeah.
old. Affectionately known as Bante Ji by his students, he arrived in the United States in 1968, teaching at the Buddhist Vihara of Washington, D.C., serving as president, and later becoming a Buddhist chaplain and earning a PhD at American University. Bante Ji has taught at various meditation centers and monasteries worldwide, and is renowned for his best-selling books, including Eight Mindful Steps to Happiness, The Path of Serenity Insight, Beyond Mindfulness in Plain English, and Mindfulness in Plain English, and several other books in plain English as well. While Bante Ji continues to write and teach at the Bhavana Society, he made the decision to not accept long-distance travel invitations after his 90th birthday. Bante, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Yeah.
Well, Bante, we've had one interview with you before, and in that interview, you spoke about, you quoted Pāḷi suttas in their original Pāli, uh, just completely fluently. And I know that as a young monk, you had a photographic memory and likely have a similar grasp at the moment. So I'm wondering, from this fluent grasp of Pali, what do you feel from you've gained from this intimate knowledge of the language and from kind of soaking it in all these years? What do we lose from hearing the teachings in translation that you've intuited from knowing the Pali all these years?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Since we learn Pali from our childhood, even before I knew a single alphabet, I knew some Pali sutras by heart, like Mahasatipatthana Sutta, because our parents took 8 precepts on full moon days, new moon days, and recited these sutras. And as children, we listened to them, and it just stuck in our mind. Since then, Pali became like our mother tongue. So, and we feel very comfortable with Pali. In fact, when I give Dhamma talks, uh, I like to cite Pali words, passages, stanzas, sometimes full sutras. I like to recite to substantiate my talk, as I feel more comfortable with Pali than any translation. When you try, Pali is a very rich language. Each word has deep meaning, and these meanings, nuance, you cannot express in any other language. It's like idioms. So when we read Pali and think the meaning in, as it is mentioned in Pali, we think of the meaning. Meaning becomes very clear to us, but even we cannot express them in, to give the complete, full meaning in any other language. And therefore I feel very comfortable. Although I had photographic memory, when I was 20, I had a sickness, I lost all of it. And then I rebuilt from scratch through the practice of meditation. So I'm so glad that it came back to me, even though I don't have photographic memory, and still I feel very comfortable with Pāļi language. Yes.
Bhante, what was the illness and how did you rebuild from scratch?
I rebuilt through the practice of meditation. I started meditation when I lost my memory at the age of 20. Maybe at the age of 21, I began to regain my memory little by little because I went on meditating in the evening, at night, early morning, whenever I had time in the daytime, I meditated, and then my memory, I was able to recognize letters, words, and read even my mother tongue. I forgot even to read my mother tongue, Sinhalese. By then I had learned 4 languages, Sinhalese, Pāļi, Sanskrit, and Tamil. But I forgot the alphabet of all these languages when I lost my memory. But at the age of 21, when I started practicing meditation, all of it came back very slowly. And then after that I continued my studies, and what I have achieved as academician was after I regained my memory.
Bhante, one of the words which I find moderns struggle with a great deal is the word citta. You spoke about the nuances that the Pāļi language has. How would you talk about what the citta is?
Citta has many meanings. One meaning is variety, chitra. Other meaning is picture. Other meaning is becoming the source of all our thoughts, words, and deeds. And therefore, the citta has many meanings. The Buddha used the citta, mano, vijnana as synonyms in Samyutta Nikaya. Cittang iti, mano iti, vijnanang iti, bucchati, he said. That means he lined up all these words in one sentence as synonyms. When the mind can do a variety of things, therefore it is called citta. Mano is the way, mano is the thinking capacity. Vijnana means becoming aware, and that is the most commonly used word, like chakkuncha, rupecha, paticca chakku vijnanam. And even in Mahatanna Sankhya Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, Venerable Sati had a misunderstanding about vijnana, and he thought the same vijnana moves on from life to life. Even in dependent origination, the word vijnana is used. Various places the word vijnana is used more often than mano and citta. and therefore that is a very common word, since it has a variety of things that vijnana can do.
Bhante, another word which perhaps is the most confusing or difficult ones to wrap the mind around for most of us is Nibbāna itself. I know the Buddha defines it in a negative sense as the absence of greed, hatred, and delusion. At the same time, I know that various teachers have tried to point to or circle around some way of fleshing out what that might be without conceptualizing it too much. I know one teacher who even said that if one was to investigate the idea of God to the very end, they might come to Nibbāna. And I know is one passage in the sutta which might equate Nibbāna with consciousness that lands on nothing, vijnana anidasana. What are your thoughts on how one should think about or not think about Nibbāna, enlightenment?
Now, as long as we have not attained Nibbāna, we will come up with all kind of interpretation. Nibbāna is something to be realized, not to be talked, discussed, and write, and so forth. More we discuss, more we write, more we have words, we confuse the very nature of Nibbāna. You are right, Buddha said the absence of all this called Nibbāna. Raga kha, dosa kha, moha kha, and so forth. Absence of greed, hatred, and delusion is Nibbāna. Just imagine when there is no greed, what is there? Greedlessness. What does greedlessness mean? What does it mean that there is no hatred? When there is no confusion, no ignorance, what is there? We can say when there is no ignorance, we have wisdom. What is wisdom? And so forth. We can keep asking questions again and again of Nibbāna. I think that is why the Buddha said this Nibbāna is to be realized, satchikatabba. Satchikatabba. Satchikatabba means personally realize. Once you realize, you understand how wordless it is. We use words to describe something that can be perceived through our senses. Nibbāna is not something that we can perceive through our senses. It is just pure, eternal peace. If you put your finger on it and say, this is, to say, God, people say God, Nibbāna. That is totally wrong, because God concept is one thing. They have various ways of describing it. Nibbāna you cannot describe like that. You cannot write about it. We do write to indicate towards Nibbāna. Nibbāna is something to be attained, realized, and not something perceptible. In other words, it is inexpressible peace.
Bhante, thank you. Do you feel like people are still attaining Nibbāna in this day and age now?
People trying to attain Nibbāna?
Are there people who are attaining, are there arhants right now in the world?
I strongly believe that there are enlightened person attain certain stages of enlightenment. Some are really enlightened, but they don't go out and propagate and do some propaganda. They are the ones who real enlightened persons. Those who speak about the attainment, by that very fact they are not attained enlightenment. If you attain enlightenment, you keep it to yourself. It is 100% personal thing. When you try to explain, other people can easily misunderstand you. And therefore it is better to express it through your behavior, through your talks, words and deeds, in public as well as in private. No secret. One who attains enlightenment doesn't have any secret, because there is nothing to hide in him. And therefore his expression is matching with his thinking and behavior. And Buddha gave very beautiful advice in Majjhima Nikaya. Those who do not have the power to read others' mind can observe enlightened person using his eyes and ears. By observing his behavior through his eyes and listening to what he says. Through these two things, Buddha, you can investigate other person. Buddha asked the monks to observe him. And that is what Brahmayu's disciple called Purana. Brahmayu was 120 years old. He heard about the Buddha. He sent his disciple called Purana to observe the behavior of the Buddha. And Purana went and spent 7 months with the Buddha, following him like his own shadow, and then concluded that yes, he is fully enlightened. And in the Buddha's case, he is declared to the world in the first sermon when he realized the Four Noble Truths in 12 modes and 3 aspects. Triparivattan dvadasākāraṃ yatha bhūtaṃ jnana darsanaṃ suvisuddhaṃ avosi. When his realization of the Four Noble Truths was perfected in 3 modes and 12 aspects, he declared that because he wanted to eliminate the doubt of the 5 monks in order to build up confidence in him and listen to him. And otherwise, other monks who have attained enlightenment declared only to the Buddha. When Buddha asked, they declared only to the Buddha. They didn't go out to the public and say that I am enlightened, and so forth. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante. Bhante, the goal of enlightenment, it seems so lofty. I know that the Buddha said, and many did, that stream entry, the first stage of awakening, is something all should aim for, and is a goal that both lay people and monks and nuns can achieve. What would your advice or encouragement be to a layperson in modern America with maybe a family and children? How should they orient themselves to to think about stream entry, the first stage of awakening, how should they practice?
I think that's also a good question. I think there are many sincere people who really want to attain stream entry, and some of them find ways to practice Dhamma, to find good friend, listening to Dhamma, remembering Dhamma, following the advice given in the Dhamma, and meditate. Without meditation, especially samatha vipassana meditation of mindfulness meditation, they cannot attain stream entry. And therefore there are many people, lay people, you might have noticed, coming to monastery, going to many retreats, vipassana retreat, and practicing. I think they are very sincere. I noticed some of them practice so sincerely, they certainly can attain stream entry in this very life. And Buddha said you can attain stream entry either at the early age of your life, or in the middle age of life, or even at the moment of death. You can attain stream entry if you follow the instructions very meticulously according to the Buddha's instructions. Now, if somebody has any doubt of attaining stream entry, the person must seek a good friend, Kalyanamitta, and learn the Dhamma and investigate the Dhamma, practice the factors of enlightenment. I think people are trying to do that. People are trying to practice mindfulness, they try to investigate, they make effort, they practice tranquility, they gain concentration and so forth. I think there are people, I think even in the modern society, you know, when people keep enjoying for a certain period of time, they come to a realization this enjoyment itself is suffering. So much to do to enjoy, and they get tired of it, and they give it up. I know in February, with this example, February, people in Brazil have a carnival. It's a world famous carnivals. And during that time, there are many people who hate carnival. They don't want to see carnival. And they organize retreat. And I have been there many times during February and spent almost a month or two going to various places, teaching meditation. And I see the pleasure comes to a point that people get tired of it. You know, you see the bodhisattva's life, when he was a lay person, he went to the extreme pleasure. And finally what happened? He got so tired of it. It is just like when you eat something very delicious, you get tired of it. That is what is called diminishing return. Diminishing return. So when you come to that level, you don't want to enjoy anymore. You turn completely back to enjoyment. And these are the people who really seriously want to attain stream entry. I think there are many people, even any country. I believe there are people who sincerely want to do that.
Bhante, would that be your definition of maybe not, the two types of preliminary to stream entry, the faith follower and I think the wisdom follower, who the Buddha says they aren't yet stream enterers, but they're destined for stream entry. What are your interpretation of those two terms? Because it seems like they are destined for stream entry eventually, but they aren't yet there.
Yeah. Faith followers are those who listen to Dhamma and investigate the meaning of what they hear, and then they build up deep faith. They are called faith followers. Their faith is endowed with knowledge. That is called avecca prasada. Avecca means having known. The avecca word, avecca comes from the root with to know. Having known, having understood the Dhamma, they build up faith, not blind faith. They are in the spiritual faculties, saddha, virya, sati, samadhi, panya. They have more faith than any other spiritual faculties. And they are the ones who, when they learn the Dhamma, will have a very rich knowledge of Dhamma, and they base their practice on faith. They are faith followers. Wisdom followers are practicing the wisdom faculty more than others. And faith followers also are struggling a little harder than others because they are called danda patipada, danda bhijna. Their practice is sluggish, attainment is sluggish. Because of their faith is so deep and they want to follow all the rules and regulations and out of faith, and therefore they, following all the minute rules and regulations is not very easy. That's very difficult. And they follow it. They follow it with trusting the Buddha, trusting themselves, trusting the Dhamma. And then their practice is called sluggish, slow, and yet they attain it.
Bhante, how would one know if one had attained stream entry?
Of course, the person himself or herself knows. One thing, the person actually doesn't appreciate others praising him. You feel very embarrassed to hear people talk very highly of you. They may do so with sincere heart, but it is sort of an embarrassment for them to hear, because their ego is not playing major role in their life. That is one sign. Second is, he sincerely does not think that you can attain stream entry by following regular rituals. There are many, many kinds of rituals. Perhaps they might, when they live in a community, in order to go along with the communal activities, he might join the rituals that others perform. But in his heart he knows this ritual itself does not lead him or her to attain liberation. This is mere ritual. And that is second reason, the second way that he knows that he is in the stream entry. And third is he has no doubt whatsoever of the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, morality, this world, next world, mother, father, all kind of things that people have doubt, that person doesn't have any doubt. You know, these days some people question about rebirth. They ask whether the rebirth is just another notion Buddha borrowed from Hinduism and so forth. No, I strongly object that, because the dependent origination, Buddha said, many a birth, at the end of dependent origination, he said, many a birth I wandered in samsara, seeking but not finding the builder of this house. Sorrowful is to be born again and again. O house builder, thou art seen, thou shalt not build this house again. Thy rich pole is shattered, thy rafter is broken, thou cannot build this house anymore. The mind has attained the end of repetition of birth and death. In this, it is said, Aneka jati samsaram, sandhavisang anibbisang, gahakara kangave santu, dukkha jati punappunang, gahakara gadittosi, punage annakasi, sabbate pasuka bhagga, gahakutang visankhitang, visankhara gatan chittan, tannanang kayamajjika. Like that he said in Pāļi. That means this house builder, the carpenter, builder of this house, is completely destroyed. You cannot build this house. What is this house? The carpenter or the builder. This builder is craving, desire. As long as you have a desire and you die with desire, you definitely, whether you like it or not, will be born somewhere. You will be born somewhere. So long as you have desire, it combines with ignorance, avijja, tanha avijja. These two exist. As long as these two exist, you will be reborn whether you like it or not. And therefore, a person who attains the stream entry has no doubt whatsoever, because that person also has certain degree of desire and ignorance. That is why he ended up in stream entry. Of course, his samsaric existence is limited. Only that person can have confidence that he is niyato sambodhi parayano. He is definitely leading the end leading to the attainment of sambodhi, enlightenment. And therefore, these are the three factors, as you know, three fetters. He destroys, he doesn't do it at once. He will destroy them one by one, slowly and gradually, through his maturity of his wisdom, insight, understanding. When this grow, mature, then only he knows that he has a stream entry. Sometimes people ask me, some people come to me and ask me, Bhante, so and so said that I am a stream enterer. Am I a stream enterer? I said no. Why not? The person gets upset. Why not? Because a stream enterer doesn't have to ask somebody else whether he attained stream entry or not. He is the self, testimony. He knows that, he or she. And he, through that person's behavior, some wise people who know Dhamma can understand that this person has some distinction, some kind of attainment. Even though the person does not express it in words, people recognize that he has something special.
Bhante, thank you. You bring up this aspect of right view around there's this world and the next. There are spontaneously reborn beings. There is rebirth. And the lack of that view as an accepted one in the West, I think there's a few sort of ripple effects, which I'd be curious about your thoughts on. One is that the idea of dedicating merit to the dead is almost non-existent in our culture. And I remember being at another monastery where someone came and spoke about these dreams she had of her recently passed mother, sort of shivering and hungry, coming to her asking for clothing and food. Um, so I, there's that aspect of dedicating merit to the dead. And then the other one is, it strikes me that in Buddhist cultures and countries, there's almost a bit, in a certain sense, less pressure because of the idea that there's multiple lifetimes. And I know some people actually have the bodhisattva aspiration, or the idea of remaining for a few lifetimes to do good. So I'm curious about your thoughts on both of those aspects. One, on the importance of dedicating merit to the dead, and the second on what are your thoughts on the bodhisattva path?
I see. We must say that in original Buddhism, the bodhisattva is not something strange, something alien. Buddha himself mentioned many times, because before I attained enlightenment, I was bodhisattva. When I was bodhisattva, you see in Bhāli Sutta and various other suttas, Buddha said, when I was bodhisattva, I was such and such. Somebody who is destined to attain enlightenment is bodhisattva. That is bodhisattva. So you don't have to do something different from what we are doing everyday life to attain liberation. If you practice meditation to gain insight, to attain stream entry, you are bodhisattva. In that sense, everybody who is trying to attain liberation is a bodhisattva. I mean, there is no question about it. Of course, later on, in some other traditions, they specialized this and they began to promote it in various ways. These are, I think, in my view, not necessary. We all are bodhisattvas. And the second is transferring merit. We know there is only one, according to the Buddha in Thirokutta Sutta, there is only one realm of existence where the merit that we try to transfer, receive. Only one place. That is called Paradattupajivi. One ghostly existence. The Paradatta Upajivi means living on the basis of what is given to them by others. Para means others, Datta means given, Upajivi means living. Paradatta Upajivi. Paradatta Upajivi we can use for even Buddhist monks because we live dependent on what people give us. Similarly, there are beings who, after death, they are in a certain state for a certain period of time. It's a sort of limbo state. And in that state, when they are there, especially in Thirokutta Sutta in Khuddaka Nikaya it is mentioned, that they are waiting to receive some merits from the living relatives. Once they receive the merits, how they receive merits? This is the thing, that suppose you do some meritorious deeds. You can offer dana, you practice meditation, you observe your moral principles, and you pay respect to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and do any of these things, all of them. And then you think or say, may these merits accrue unto so and so. And they, since they are living in a temporary, space, lifespan, they hear this and they become happy that you have not forgotten them. It is how we transfer merits. Otherwise, there is no any way, wire transfer money or putting something in one bank account and another. Not like that. Suppose, I give you another example. Suppose you are driving. You see a little kitten on the road. So you stop the vehicle, get out and pick up the kitten, and either you bring it home or put it out on the sidewalk so that he can be safe, and you drive. Having done all these things on one of them, you come to me and said, Bhante, when I was driving, I saw a kitten, I did such and such and such and such. Then I said, very good, that's very good. So I rejoice in what you have done. You have done something good, and you tell me, then I will be happy. Similarly, when you do something wholesome and wish them to share your pleasure, when you do something wholesome, your heart is filled with joy, happiness, that you have done something, just like that kitten. You do it with pleasure, compassion, kindness, and your heart is full of that pleasure. And you share it with me. I am also happy. Exactly like that, we do something wholesome, and then we must understand there are 31 planes of existence. These are all mentioned in Buddhist cosmology. I mentioned in my mind, in my path of serenity and insight, all the 31 I have mentioned. You can find them all in Buddhist texts. So, therefore, this Peta life is one of those 31 planes of existence. And therefore, they after receiving after they become happy and rejoicing with it, they would be reborn in a better place because they became happy. When they are in that Peta life, they are very unhappy. And you made them happy, and then they will be reborn in a better place.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah.
I know we're coming closer to the end of your time, but may I ask a few more questions of you, Bhante?
Okay.
On this note of death, this is a slight diversion, but it's one that I know some people are struggling with. What if someone has a pet who seems to be suffering a great deal, and sort of the doctors and vets around them are encouraging them to euthanize the pet? How should they navigate that moment in their and the pet's life? Say the pet has cancer or something of that nature.
Could you repeat this question? You mentioned euthanizing.
Yeah, so say someone has a pet like a kitten or a cat or a dog, and they're quite ill, and at the end of their life and in pain, and they're being encouraged to put the pet down, to euthanize them by most of society, but they also want to keep the first precept. Do you have any advice for navigating that
Yes,
moment?
I think we have that experience. We had several cats. They were very, very sick. And when we took them to the vet, they said they want to put him to sleep. We said, no, you give some morphine. They gave us morphine pills. So what we did was we brought them, one of our monks crushed these morphine pills and got that little, this tube you used to put eye drops. He took one of them and mixed it with water, these pills. And when the cat was meowing in pain, he sat with him, holding it near his mouth. As soon as the cat opened his mouth to say meow, he put this in and pressed. And then this liquid with the morphine goes right into his heart. Then his pain disappears. Until he died on his own, he went on doing that. We refused to let the doctor euthanize. We had a dog. One time during a retreat, she was very sick. We did not raise the dog, but somebody's dog came and started living here, so we fed and so forth. So it happens to be like our dog. So when she was sick, we took to the veterinarian. He tried to do that. I said, no. You let him be in the clinic for one night. If she doesn't die by herself, we will come and get him. So that night she did not die. We brought back and we kept him. And also we treated her like that. And again she fell ill. Again when we took her to the doctor, and he said again he want to euthanize. We said no. And I told them the same thing. You keep her one night. If she doesn't die, we come and get. That night she died on her own. So we must understand, even though someone, animal or human and so on, wants to live, everyone wants to live even a minute, extend their life. Everyone is fear of death. Everyone has fear of death. And everyone will be glad to live even, extend life even for 2 minutes. So we must allow that. So we actually honestly believe in a right to live. Right to live. And therefore euthanasia, sometimes they extend this idea not only to animals, but in some cases we heard some people want to do it to human beings as well. So where you would end up? When children find their parents very, very, very sick, extremely difficult to take care of them. Are they going to euthanize their parents? No.
Bhante, this really strikes home, and it's always struck me that for a pet, the chance to be cared for by a human is such a rare thing in samsara that even those last few days might be really powerful to that being's karma, to be cared for. And that pain sometimes allows a pet to let go more. I know that pets I've had have simply stopped eating at some point. So thank you for your reflections on all that, Bhante.
Yeah.
And Bhante, I know we've kept you for quite a while, but one final question is, do you have any advice for us here in Seattle, the younger generation of monastics in the U.S.? What advice would you give us? What should we What should we be thinking about?
I think it's a very, very good question, or rather request. You are Nisabo?
Yes.
Yes. How many verses do you have?
Just 10, Bhante.
10 verses. Okay, Asma Nisabo. Becoming a monk is a very, very rare thing. Everybody doesn't like to become monk. To get their parents' permission and finding suitable place and so forth, very difficult. Having got that opportunity, having got the permission from parents, finding a suitable place, if one becomes a monk or nun, that person must be very, very thankful to his own life. That is the blossom of his life. That is because that is the best thing one can do in one's life. And therefore, but not too many people like to become monks and nuns. Once you become a monk or nun, then you must use every ounce of your energy, your wisdom, determination to stick to that life. Because this is not very easy thing. Not very easy. Once you got into that, you have the world, the earth, what you call, the sky is the limit. You have total freedom to practice meditation. You know, people these days, when we ask people to meditate, they always come up with excuses not to meditate. I have to do this, I have job, my children, my bank account, my bank loan and mortgage, this and that. So many excuses they have as lay people. Once you got out of that trap, you are trapped in lay life. Once you got out of that trap, don't go back to the same trap. Stay out of it and continue your practice. Becoming a monk is a very difficult thing. Once you committed to a monk's life, you must stay there. That's why Buddha said, Arabhata Nikhamata Yunjata Buddha Sasane Dunata Machuno Sayang Nalagarang Kunjarang. Arabhata, you start. With difficulties you start. Nikhamata, continue. Arambha is called Arambha Dhatu. Arambha Dhatu, elements of beginning. Nikhamata, Nikhama Dhatu. That means proceeding. Once you start something, after a while your initial enthusiasm will slowly dwindle down. Then you become lazy and so forth. Not doing that. You must continue your initial enthusiasm. Build up your momentum. Dunata Machuno Senang. Destroy the retinue of Mara, Mara's army. Just like an elephant crush a bamboo house. Nalagara Kunjara. Nalagara means bamboo house. Kunjara means elephant. You must be like an elephant to destroy the army of Mara. It is the army of Mara that tries to pull you out of your monastic life. There are so much temptations outside. You can see all kinds of beautiful things, beautiful people, beautiful girls, beautiful this and that. These are just what you call the baits of Mara. Mara gives you these baits and you swallow. And that is why it is called gullible. Gullible is a good Pāļi word. Pāļi word is gulli baliso. Gali baliso. Gali means swallow. Baliso means bait. One would just naively swallow everything and become a bait of Mara, getting into the Mara's trap. Once you become a monk, you must remember this, not to give it up. The Passatimang posang mutto bandhanameva jayati. Vanamutto vanameva dhati. You just came out of jungle and feel that you are safe, but again you go back to the jungle. That is a very foolish thing. So I very strongly, because I have lived the monk's life for 83 years. 83 years. And I knew, I can see the difference between my life and my family members' lives. I have so many brothers, sisters, nephews, nieces, grandnephews, grandnieces, great-grandnieces, I see all of them, 5 generations people of my family. I can see the way how they live and how I live. And because I made the commitment to stay in the monk's life, it is not very easy. There are so many obstacles, so many impediments, so much temptations, and we must learn to face all of them and then we become hero. We all become heroes. I ask young monks all to become very good heroes.
Bhante, I will keep those words with me. And it's such an honor to actually get to speak with you. I don't know if I've ever talked to a monk who's had this many years in robes, and thank you, really.
Thank you. I wish you continue your monastic life. I wish you never disrobe and you stay in monastic life until you die. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante. And I hope your health continues to be wonderful, and I hope you continue to bless us for many years to come, Bhante. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, bye.